It is time for a resetting of things. I know there's the weffers out there, and they're wanting to do some really nasty things to you and I and everybody else on this planet and force feed us bugs and stuff. And, we're not really on board with that. They want to create this massive famine. And that's not what I'm talking about here at all. I'm obviously not a proponent of that. I believe that is coming down the pike at us like a freight train on the road. Like a Australian road train that's coming right at us, and we need to be aware of that, and you need to be thinking about that. And partially because of that, but some other things too, you need to be thinking about resetting things for yourself. Okay, we've lived for so long in certain ways. We've become so dependent on so many things. It's time that we kind of hit that reset button and say, things need to be different, right? We've been importing stuff from Ghana and Bangladesh and Pakistan and Dragon Country over there, and just everything that we get comes from all over the world. We have supply chains that are super long. But particularly, I'm saying this because of what happened last Tuesday. If you're in the United States, or if you're in a country that gets impacted a lot by what's happening in the United States, things didn't turn around quite as much as some of us hoped. Some, for you, things turn around more than you had hoped, I guess. I don't know. But let's just say that not too many people super happy about what happened last Tuesday, at least in the United States. Both sides seem to be very upset about things. And politics is really not where hope should be coming from, right? Politics are going to disappoint you and anger you and frustrate you and just make you livid in general, right? Everything that politicians seem to stick their hands in, things just get worse, right? It's the art of compromise between good and bad, and it ends up being just worse, right? And with all that, there's some of you who are just like, what do we do about it? What do we do about it? Let me get my flag and we're gonna go start walking around somewhere. I share that sentiment. I share your sentiment. I'm upset. I'm very upset too. But is it going to do any good? If you cast your papers and that didn't seem to do anything, do you think you walking around waving a flag or something like that is really going to do anything? I'm gonna go on a limb here and say probably not. In the Netherlands, they walked around, they drove their tractors around, they did all sorts of stuff. They're spraying stuff that Americans wouldn't even do, right? And what did they really accomplish with that? If your answer is a big fat nothing, you'd be correct. In New Zealand, we had one of the viewers here sent me a packet of actual printed out pictures of demonstrations there in New Zealand for farmers and such, I guess out of security concerns. And I saw those pictures too, and thank you for sending those in. But we have people walking around, driving their tractors around in lots of different places and saying, like, we're going to go out there and we're going to tell them that we've had enough and that this is. Does that really do much? And I understand it makes everyone kind of feel more like we're not alone. And to that extent, it is something. But what really will make a big difference is you becoming more independent. You looking at the system and you looking at things and saying, my life needs to change, right? And I'm not just talking about just writing people letters. Go ahead and do that. Write letters to your elected peoples. Give them phone calls, give them an earful, fine. You'll get put on a list, I promise you. But if you do that without changing your life, without saying, you know, this whole system that I'm dependent upon, I'm part of the problem, we need to be seriously considering pulling the plug of our dependency upon the system. Now, when you pull the plug out, when you flip the circuit breaker off to your home, suddenly you are now dependent on you and your assets. It's not some wind farm up in, you know, upstate New York. It's not some nuclear power plant down Tennessee that's going to provide you your electricity. It's going to be you that's going to provide that. It's not some farmer in Bangladesh who pulled a beet out of the ground that's going to provide you your sugar. It is, you know, what you're growing, what you have stocked up. Becoming more independent, more self-sufficient is the ultimate act of stepping away, walking away. There's this term. It's called nullification. Nullification. It's where somebody who thinks they're in charge says, this is the way things are going to be, and everybody just kind of ignores them. Everyone just kind of says, well, we don't really see it that way. And the person says, but I'm in charge. And everyone goes, you can think that if you want. Leave us alone. I think one of the most powerful things, and we see this occasionally, we see this in different places where a law gets passed and everybody just kind of ignores it. And the government can't really enforce it because there's just too many people who've just chosen not to pay attention. Everyone just kind of willfully pretends that that doesn't exist. We're kind of in a place where wandering around on streets with signs and chanting things, and that's not really going to change anything. Us all kind of getting to the point where we're just look at the government and say no, that changes things. That changes things. We need to independently have the ability to be in a place where we can just say no. And we need to have the courage and the moral certitude to do that. And this is a hard question. I'm a Christian. I have my Bible study channel that a fair number of you are over on. If you don't know where that is, you can always find it in the description down below, or go to the channel page and you can find the link over to Bold Faith Bible, where I do daily Bible studies, where I haven't jumped into this too deeply, but in the United States, our government is the Constitution. And as long as people follow the Constitution and they're appointed and under what's laid out in the Constitution, then they're the government. But if the Constitution's not being followed, are the people who are pretending to be the government really the government? Or are they just a bunch of thugs with guns? This is a very similar question to what was asked in the American Revolution, where they said, the legitimate government is not the king. There's this contract. The Magna Carta, that the king had to sign. And that's the ultimate rule of the land. And the king has violated the Magna Carta. And appealing to the Magna Carta, we have rights that are being taken away. And so therefore, the king is illegitimate. And that's what they argued. And that's kind of the groundwork of where they said, we don't need to follow the king. We can actually resist. And everyone kind of needs to do this. Honestly, you need to pull out your Constitution. You need to read the thing, okay? And you needed to come to the conclusion of whether we have a rule of law, the Constitution of the United States, or whether we live under this puppet dictatorship, whatever, where people just do what they want to do. And because they're the ones holding the reins of power, all of us have to listen. That's the question. Do we actually have a republic with the Constitution in control, or do we have something else? And if we have a dictatorship and we have no allegiance anymore to the semblance of a republic that we once had, then perhaps it's your Christian duty to submit to this dictatorship. And that's a tough call. And a lot of people are there saying, whatever the government is, we need to submit to it. But I challenge you to read the U.S. Constitution, to grab a hold of your state constitution and try to read your way through that too. Try to figure out what in the world is the government of the United States, or wherever you are in the world, and really, what is your allegiance to? When I was young, they forced us to say something. This little thing called, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right? I pledge my allegiance to a republic. What do we have now? Depends on your interpretation of some of the more current events, I guess. Are the selection process for our representatives being followed today? Or is there no accountability, and are we just being forced to take representatives that have not been chosen in proper ways? These are questions you need to ask, but if you even get a hint of needing to go there, the question is, are you in a place where you can even stand up? Because you need to have the resources, you need to have the independence, the ability, the independence from the system so that you can stand up. The colonists back in 1700s, they had this independence where they were relatively self-sufficient. Yeah, they needed their tea and their sugar, but you know what? The colonists said, we don't really need that tea. How about let's just have a tea party in the Boston Harbor, right? And they started chucking the tea in and said, we don't need tea. That's when Americans started drinking coffee. Friends, what are the things that you need to say, we don't really need this? We need to become more independent. We need to become less dependent upon the system, and that's worth some inconvenience. Have your own little tea party, so to speak, with what you're purchasing, what you consume, and shifting it to something that you produce or someone you know produces. Is your neighborhood, is your city self-sufficient? Are the people that you are surrounded by? And if you're in a red state, awesome, and is your state self-sufficient? The answer to that is generally no. Whether you and your family are self-sufficient, the answer is probably no, but I know there's some of you who are. Awesome for you. But we all need to be taking steps to move that direction, right? I am, and you need to be as well. Because there's going to be some laws coming down the pike sooner or later that you're going to go, this one's worth standing up for. And that's going to really, really hurt you if you have a job somewhere where you don't have any financial backing, you don't have any financial support, you don't have anything saved up, and it's going to cost you your job to stand up. What about if you need to stand up and they're going to say, well, then you're not allowed to shop for food anymore? Do you have enough food? What happens if they say you're not going to be admitted to the clinic? Can you take care of yourself? Friends, they're going to use everything they can to kind of control you. Are you in a place where you can be uncontrollable? I'm not saying doing anything unreasonable. I'm just saying not complying with stuff. I don't know exactly what's coming down the pike, but I think we all kind of in our gut kind of feel that the people in Washington, D.C. and other places do not have our best interests at heart. Hopefully what happened is going to gum everything up and they're just going to leave us alone. But that's not usually what politicians do. Take steps, become more independent, so that when the need to stand up, to nullify, to say no, you will be able to stand up as well. All right, folks. Tough topic, I know. Please give us a thumbs up. Please make sure you're subscribed, just to make sure this video gets out to some folks, because I know the powers that be don't want to hear this and don't want other people to hear this as well. All right, folks, if you found this video useful, helpful, please do hit those like and subscribe buttons. That's white now. And you might want to check out this other video from me right here. Otherwise, I will see you later. Steve Poplar out.